All right, everybody, I'm back, and I'm giving a voice to the people, and I am out in Hollywood, California, with the one and the only Mr. Foster V. Corridor, and we're talking about his life in the business and his relationship with Dolomite. And everybody know right now, the new movie on Netflix, Dolomite, is being raved. Eddie Murphy remade it. The thing I love about the movie and about what I should say, Dolomite, about his story.
His story.
It's his drive.
That's right.
And with me, I always talk about being symbolic, which means being deeply rooted stimulates growth. Simply your best, no matter what.
Ooh.
You know, and just going forward
Yes.
and not letting anybody stop you.
That's right.
And that's one thing I loved about him. And my question, after doing my research, I found out some things that I wanted to get some insight on. And so Dolomite was he did his comedy, he did his movies, he did his poetry, and everybody looked at Dolomite as a ladies' man, right?
Absolutely.
But now I found out something that I didn't know. So I found out, and I always want to make sure I say things right.
Yes.
I found out that Dolomite was gay.
Yes.
So my thing is, and I think about people, like now, I think about people like Luther Vandross,
Yes.
and Teddy Pendergrass, like
Yes.
people that were
Rock Hudson.
you know, Rock Hudson, all of them, you know, and like now it's so everything is accepted. There's
Exactly.
movements, there's the LGBTQ
That's right.
and everything, and you don't have to hide. So my question to you is, what was it like for Rudy Ray Moore, Dolomite, to have to shadow who he really was?
Sure.
Because he couldn't be out like that.
Sure.
And he had to shadow who he was.
Right.
What was that like?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm glad you asked that, because I mentioned that, you know, about a week or two ago, and a lot of people on the web were saying, "Oh, you're outing Rudy, and he's dead," and all.
Right.
But you got to understand, I didn't, and you know, you putting this man's business out, and he wouldn't want. There's so many young people today committing suicide about not feeling good and not being accepted
Yeah.
for who they are.
Right.
That I feel is really important, you know, to tell the truth.
Okay.
Rudy and I used to joke every day about sexuality, about his sexuality, my sexuality, sex and period. Rudy talked about sex. He made his whole living talking
That's
comedy
right.
about sex.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like he was a prude or he was, Rudy was not ashamed, okay? Rudy Ray Moore was not ashamed of being gay. He could not come out because that was a different time.
Yes.
And he would not be accepted. There are gay people today being beat up and stoned and shot and drugged behind cars because they're gay. So you go back 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
How can a man say, and his whole persona is, my penis is big and long, I make him do, you know, all the stuff.
And back then, because it wasn't accepted like it is now, that would have changed his audience. Like,
well, it would have changed, but see, not
and all
even
because
just the
of ignorance.
audience, his life would have been in danger.
Yeah.
You see, you got to understand, especially in the black community too. The nightclubs that Rudy and I were playing wasn't like in Beverly Hills.
Right.
You know,
Right, yeah.
you know, you going into Chicago and Cleveland, you know, Memphis, Tennessee, you know, Little Rock, and then not to mention all these little bitty cities around the country, you know. And so you're dealing with people from country people to some, you know, educated people, but still it was ghetto life.
Right.
You know, and black people, you know, when you look at Ike Turner, how Ike used to beat Tina.
Yeah.
Okay? That was a man and a woman. So when you say, you know, black on black crime, when you're talking about black on homosexual crime, you know, and in the white community, in the Indian community, in the Latin community, in the white community, it's bad. So it's an issue. So I'm not outing Rudy Ray Moore. Many people knew Rudy Ray Moore was gay. You know, you can look at him and see how flamboyant and stuff. but it wasn't important.
Right.
See, that's the other side of it.
And what
It's not important today
Yeah.
whether he was gay or straight, who he was sleeping with. But the thing that is important that the public needs to know is that the truth.
Okay.
The truth is, his art was his art, and he took on the Dolomite persona,
Right.
and that just shows you how good he was at doing it.
And he couldn't live his full truth.
He couldn't.
He couldn't live his full truth because of fear of how people would
That's
receive him
That's
and
right.
accept him.
That's right.
And I'm pretty sure, and we all know that people live with their fears and their
That's
regrets and different things that they hold back because of society.
That's right.
I'll give you a prime example: the movie Brokeback Mountain.
That's right.
So that was about two white guys who fell in love, but when people found out, they killed them.
Right. See?
So
That's what I'm
it's in Hollywood. They put it on the screen. So why can't we talk about it?
That's right.
And the reason I'm talking about it is because that showed that they weren't accepted, so they got hurt
That's right.
and lost their life. So somebody like Dolomite or anybody that didn't want to bring their sexuality out,
That's
it
right.
was for fear of not only their career,
That's
but
right.
fear of their life.
That's
and
right.
you were there with him, so
I
you
saw
got
that
to
pain.
see this.
I saw that pain. And I want to say right now that anyone listening to this or seeing any other interviews that I have done that says, "Oh, it's negative. He's outing Rudy." What that is you're showing your homophobicness.
Yeah.
You see, because don't take it as a negative. I'm not outing.
You're
I'm
not outing
talking
him.
about him in a negative way.
You're telling-
And
you're
so
telling
you're
his
hearing
truth.
That you're hearing
Yeah.
it from your mirror. You see, that's your
Right.
intake is wrong. Your
Right.
filter is has an issue. So you're not comfortable with yourself or with LGBTQ people.
And I don't look at it as you outing him. I look at it as part of his life story and part of who he was.
Yeah.
And part of his legacy. You get to see who he really was and on both sides of the spectrum. And like even now, I think if he was still living, I think that, and I'm just saying this is me thinking,
Sure.
I think that now he would be more at ease in saying who he
totally,
was
totally.
because now it's
That's
so
right.
much more acceptable
That's
and
right.
people have the right to
That's
be who
right.
they want to be, speak how they want to speak,
That's
and
right.
walk in their truth.
That's right.
And I think that's cool.
I gotta tell you, okay, there's one joke that Rudy used to do, and everybody that used to go to the clubs and see Rudy Ray Moore knows. But it was one joke that used to have me on the side of the stage cracking up all the time, man. Was he would tell this one joke, because I say, y'all don't know how. He would say, okay, he said, ladies, I'm looking for me a nice skinny gal tonight. But if I can't find one, a nice fat butt boy would do. And I would crack up because it was so real.
And
And
to them, it was a joke,
it was-
and they
yeah,
laughing
they-
so hard,
everybody, the
and they don't
audience,
realize.
they didn't realize. Right.
In hindsight,
Right.
that's
Exactly.
what he like.
Yeah, and I used to tell him, I used to say, man, you got to stop telling that joke, Rudy. 'Cause people, I say, if you trying to keep it on the, he'd be like, and he'd laugh. I mean, Rudy was a wonderful person.
Yeah.
That's how I could say. I mean, he was full range guy. I learned so much about the industry from him, from how to make money on the road, how to promote movies, how to do different stuff on the grassroots level.
Okay.
We hustled. You leave Los Angeles with one print in the trunk of the car, and we drive to Houston and put it up in one theater, and we promote it in the radio stations and in nightclubs and different stuff, and on the streets. We drive around. Rudy was so famous. You could drive through the inner cities, and people Dolomite. We'd hand out flyers saying we're gonna be at the so and so theater and right, but we would play it in the one theater downtown or in the neighborhood, one or the other, right? For the first weekend. And we make so much money from those first 3 days, we send back to Hollywood to Deluxe Labs and get another print made.
Yeah.
And so then that second weekend, we would be downtown and or in the neighborhood,
Right.
both of them, and or downtown and at a drive-in.
Okay.
And we would go around, we'd go to the drive-in all week long while the other movies were playing,
Mm-hmm.
because we would open up on Friday, right? So we would go to the drive-in all week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when other movies were playing, the big Hollywood movies.
Mm-hmm.
And before those movies would start playing, when the people are arriving
Yeah.
in their cars and getting snacks, we'd be there, and Rudy would be there, and we'd go in the concession area, and he would start telling jokes. Dolomite is my name, and he had that roaring voice, you
Yes,
know, and
yes.
that ghetto sophistication is like that he'd speak with, and that we'd have a whole crowd of people, and we hand out flyers. Yes, my movie is going to open here on Friday, and I want all you people to, and come Friday, Saturday, and Sunday,
They will come
it'd
back.
be full. It'd be
Man,
full.
that's dope.
So it's he and I. He was just a wonderful guy. When he'd be not on stage, and that laughter and that little boy, you could see the little boy come out in him. It was really interesting, the humanity, and he was really smart. He had a lot of thoughts about a lot of different things, and that's why I know if he was alive today, he would like to see more thought about the business.
Okay.
African American people and Latinos thinking about the business side. Don't just be happy to be in front of the camera.
Right.
Come together and have the business. And now, as the filmmaker that I am, and knowing what I see about the business now and technology with streaming, you guys are watching this on the web.
Right. Yeah.
There's no reason that as many wealthy people that we have in the community that we don't have our own.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Is
Yeah.
just it's not everybody should have their own. Indians, Germans, Italians, French, and they all do,
Yeah.
except for the African Americans.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to
we
learn
still
that.
big and Warner Brothers and Universal and all of those, and everybody else to
Except for Tyler Perry.
Yeah, but Tyler's not.
No, I'm just saying.
Right.
He got his own studio.
He's got his own studio.
So
but with Tyler, and I don't know him, and I love to work with him, I love it. But having a studio is one thing, but making I want to see films come out of there with other people's names on them other than Tyler Perry.
Yeah, we just had that
that's
conversation. So, in all fairness to Tyler Perry,
I
now
hope he's doing
now that's what we're waiting to see,
Uh-huh.
because we've seen the wealth he's gained, and as far as the name he has now, and putting all his stuff out,
Right.
and now that he has these big studios, now we would love to see our brother put other people
It's
on,
got to.
and you let them produce their movies
Yeah.
through your studios,
But that's
and that's a whole nother conversation.
Right, but that's a conversation that needs to be had.
That's a conversation
See,
that we need
because
to have.
that is when you look at
That's power.
the Spielbergs, the Lucases, the Coppolas, the Zemeckis, the De Laurentises, and they didn't just do their stuff. It's like, look at it like a torch.
You will see their name on everything.
It's like you have a torch and you're in the woods and it's pitch black. Well, the only way that you're going to keep light in the forest is by you lighting 15, 20
Along the way,
other people's torches.
Yeah.
So when your torch burns out, you still got fire.
There it is.
You still got light.
Yeah.
And then your torch will never burn out because you've lit 15
Man,
torches.
keep the fire burning.
Keep it going.
Keep the fire burning,
Yeah.
and affect change and
Yeah.
affect people.
Yes.
Man, I love it. So let me be. I got one more question.
Sure.
And actually, I had two more questions. But one thing about you, you were instrumental in a few people that we know careers. Director Gary F. Gray,
Yes.
Antoine Fuqua.
Yes.
What was your relationship with them in their careers as directors?
Well, I can very proudly say and confidently say that I helped start their careers. They were already filmmakers per se, but I was fortunate enough to get the job of being the first African American to be head of film and video production in the record industry. I produced all the Hammer videos, Tina Turner, Poison, Great White. I was part of the team at Capitol Records that we produced over probably 200 music videos during the period that I was there. You know, Too Legit to Quits and what is that? Yeah, Too Legit to Quit was the
Did you do
biggest
Pumps
one.
in a Bump?
Pumps in a Bump, all that stuff. It's
MC Hammer.
It's like Pray,
But yeah,
and a whole bunch of things, right? But Young MC, Bust a Move,
yeah.
and I forget all the Whispers, Great White, you know, you name it. So, but and God, I'm sorry, I'm getting old.
That's okay.
I lost the
That's okay.
question. Why did we go into that?
We were talking about how you were instrumental in Gary F. Gray
yes,
and Antoine Fuqua.
Right. So when I got that job, because the NAACP, they were protesting the record companies because there were no black people involved in the record industry on the film side in music videos. Nobody was getting any of that work, and MTV, the only people on MTV was Michael Jackson and Rick James, right? So Capitol Records agreed to be the first record company other than Motown to hire somebody. They agreed to hire somebody of African American descent if they could find somebody qualified.
Right.
Well, I presently at that time, I owned, along with John Simmons, Blackbird Films. That was the first African American owned commercial production company. John Simmons from Chicago, cinematographer. Now he's huge. Look up, Google John Simmons cinematography. He shoots a lot of television shows you've seen. John Simmons did. Well, we started together, Blackbird Films, and we had Gordon Parks, Bill Duke, Stan Lathan, Kevin Hooks, Helene Head, Forrest Whitaker. So we produced McDonald's, Coca-Cola, California Lotto, and 3 Day Blinds. So that's why Capitol pulled me in. So when I went in to interview, they was shocked to find somebody that had as much production experience.
Right.
And let me say this too about Rudy Ray Moore, because we'll come back to F. Gary Gray and Antoine Fuqua and Michael Bay and all of this. 6 degrees of separation, and this is, I'm giving this to you. Rudy Ray Moore. When you do, you know, everybody heard about the Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of separation.
Yes.
Well, Rudy Ray Moore has the same kind of 6 degrees of separation. Rudy Ray Moore has touched thousands and thousands of people in the entertainment industry, because Ernie Hudson, the Ghostbuster, his first movie was Dolomite movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So everybody that has worked with Ernie Hudson, from the Ghostbusters to Oz to the shows that he's on now, all have been touched by Dolomite.
Yeah.
Antoine Fuqua, F. Gary Gray, who I gave opportunities to, Michael Bay, who I worked with and gave opportunities to when I was at Capitol. There were no black directors directing music videos when I went to Capitol Records.
Okay.
I brought in so many people from behind the scenes, makeup artists, people, grips, and electricians and stuff, camera people in music videos who are now doing movies all in the union. And I'm not bragging, I'm just giving you history.
That's what we want. We want history and truth.
I put more people of color in the unions, the official Hollywood unions, than any other single individual in Hollywood that I know of, especially any black person.
Wow.
You know, so it's so when you say Rudy Ray Moore, all of those people, everybody who F. Gary Gray directed Fast and the Furious 6 and Fridays, and Antoine Fuqua with Training Day and Equalizer. Everybody that they've worked with has been touched by Rudy Ray Moore, because they wouldn't have got the opportunities, because I hired them when I went to Capitol Records, when you couldn't melt a black director down and pour him on a ad agency or one of these record companies.
Okay. All right. So everybody, I hope you're getting all of this knowledge that my man has been spitting. It is dope. I appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to finish this interview up with something that's going on right now that has to do with Rudy Ray Moore and Dolomite and my man Eddie Murphy. So we'll be right back, and we're going to give you a little more information. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Keep watching.